Hello everyone, Aanii, Biindigaan, Kwe, Indigenous. I'm here today from Andover presenting the COVID-19 Emergency Support Watch Party. I'm going to be doing a live feed about the 4 sacred medicines. We're just going to talk a little bit about what the medicines are, what directions they sit in, as well as their uses and whatnot. So I'm just waiting for a couple of folks to come on. Are people there? So I wanted to do a special shout out to Andover and Task for making this possible. Once again, we're going to be doing the 4 sacred medicine teaching. So if you could share it with folks or whatnot. And we'll start off with the land acknowledgement. I'm here in Toronto on the Dish with One Spoon territory. It is a treaty between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the resources and land that we are sitting on, as well as to open it up to newcomers and settlers as well. So yeah, I'm on the Dish with One Spoon territory, and it's a treaty that talks about how we are all to share in the taking care of the land, and also, you know, only taking what we need, and ensuring that we leave enough for the next generations to come. Yeah, so my name is Biindigaan Kwe, which translates into Grey Wolf Woman. I'm Eagle Clan as well as Thunderbird Clan. I'm also Ojibwe, Odawa, and Irish. And I was born and raised in Toronto. I went to high school in Niagara Falls. My family is from Chiking First Nation on Manitoulin Islands here in Ontario. So we'll get right into the 4 sacred medicines. So this is going to be very basic teachings and whatnot, knowing that some of us may be well advanced in our knowledge with traditional medicines, but also keeping in mind that there's some people that have never even smudged before. So I'm going to go through the 4 sacred medicines, what directions they sit in, also some of the uses for each of these medicines. So when we, the 4 sacred medicines that we have are tobacco, traditional tobacco, and when it's dried it looks like this. When it's growing, it's a big green leaf. It's not your typical tobacco that you would find in cigarettes, although it is pretty much the same plant. It's just it's a little bit more natural when it comes in this form, and it doesn't have the chemicals that tobacco companies put into it that cause us to have addictions to it. And then second, we have cedar. I have a little bit of dried cedar here. I have some that are actually on the branch up there. Maybe I'll go get it in a second. But cedar, it's dried up, and it's cut up so that we can make teas or put it in our bath and whatnot. Then we have sage. I like to keep my medicines in glass jars. I know a lot of folks like to keep them in plastic. I don't know. It's just something that I picked up along the way. I think it's just easier for me around the house. And then lastly, we have sweetgrass. So with the traditional tobacco, it was the first plant that was ever put on Mother Earth. It's actually an accelerator to all other plants. So much like what coffee grinds do when you put into your plants, the same thing traditional tobacco will do for your plants. It'll accelerate its growth. It's the medicine for the medicine. from what I was taught. It was also given to us so that we could communicate with the spirit world. It's kind of like a contract or an offering. You know, it opens up to the door to for us to be able to communicate with our ancestors, as well as we also offer it to elders. We would make a tobacco tie, so we would take the tobacco that we have here, and I have it in a little jar, kind of like squished up. And so we would take a little bit of tobacco and some cloth. You would typically use cotton because it's easier to break down in if you were to put it in the ground or whatnot, and also as well as for burning purposes. If you put it into a sacred fire, there's not as much chemicals in it as it would be with some of the other fabrics that we see today. So we would just cut like a little square piece. Something's going on outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Fire trucks and whatnot going by. So you would just cut like a little square piece, and also like a little kind of like tie to tie it off after. And I'm going to just show you in a minute here. So you kind of get like a little square piece of cloth, and then you'll have a little thing that you'll tie it off. And you don't need much tobacco, especially with traditional tobacco. It's not that easy to get, so you just need like a little small amount, and you put it into the center of the cloth, and then you would fold it up as such, and then you would take that the little string kind of thing, and just tie a little knot, and then there you have your tobacco tie. It's always best to give the elders a tobacco tie, not so much cigarettes. You know, it's intent is everything. So, you know, you took a little bit of time, but you know, it's so much more. You have time to think about, you know, the things that you want to ask the ancestors or the elders, and it just, you know, you're putting your intent into it, and it's being done in a good way. Also with tobacco, we know that people suffer from addictions to it. I smoke myself, being a pipe carrier. Just being mindful that they are medicines, and we don't want to overuse them. We can also, when we're using tobacco, we can offer it to the sacred fire. We don't typically make teas out of it, or at least I don't anyways. You can give it to the ground. You can also offer it to water if you're around a river or a lake, something like that. You can offer it with prayer. And also, it's a good medicine to have, because when you're picking other medicines, such as like cedar, sweetgrass, or any medicine, it's an offering to that plant. We always ask permission when we're picking medicines. We just don't go out and decide, oh, there's a cedar tree over there, I want to take that medicine, and just go rip the branches off and walk away with it. We actually have to ask permission for the plant, and not only ask permission, but also wait for an answer. Sometimes those plants will let you know that they're not feeling well or whatnot, and that you shouldn't pick from them. So just go with your intuition, and if it's not the tree, you know, wait for the next one or whatever. So after you have gotten the okay from the plant, you will go and offer your asema down, which is tobacco in Ojibwe, asema, and you just put it down by the plant, and then you can go ahead and pick your medicines. Traditional tobacco, when you're offering it to a healer, also know that they don't necessarily have to take your tobacco, and always ask beforehand what you want, as opposed to giving the tobacco and then asking them after. So then the elder knows, or the knowledge keeper knows what it is that you're asking for. And then when we go into, it sits in the eastern doorway. Typically a lot of pipe carriers will smoke their pipes in the morning at sunrise. I've also heard some elders say that it is best to put your tobacco down at 4 a.m. because it's the access when the sun, the moon, and the earth are perfectly aligned. But you know, take what you want and leave the rest. Your teachings may be different from mine, so just keep in mind, whatever works for you is what's best for you. Also, when we give it to the spirits, many pipe carriers, they do it through a form of smoke. Now, when you're smoking the pipe, you don't inhale. It's you're like honoring the ancestors with the smoke, so that they're able to hear your prayers. What else? And also, I learned a teaching way back in about tobacco. Like, we only, or any kind of medicines, we only have a full understanding of the medicine when we're able to grow it ourselves. So if you're able to get tobacco seeds and grow the plant yourself, you'll have a much better understanding of that plant. It's much like when we bear children or whatnot, we have a better understanding of our children when we watch them grow, as opposed to folks that, you know, they're not your children. You don't really know them that well, right? So to have a full understanding of medicines, sometimes it's good to grow. Myself, I live in an apartment, so I actually grow my tobacco in the windowsill. I don't have any going right now because I had taken them out for the summer, and I just find somewhere to put it out, and if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So next we'll go on to cedar. Cedar is a very special plant to me because it's one of the only medicines that you can find year-round. Cedar is used for many different things. It's used for bathing. It's used for spiritual baths. It's used in teas. It's got a high amount of vitamin C. So if you're having a cold or feeling feverish, it's good for you to drink. But you also have to keep in mind with cedar that it can be toxic if you have high doses of it. It's only good to drink one cup of cedar tea per day. It's also hold on one second here. It's also used to purify your home if you have unwanted guests. I call them spirits or whatnot, or bad energy. You can use cedar to cleanse your home, and you can put that in with your sage when you smudge. It's also used in ceremonies, in lodges. They put it either around the lodge or on the floor of the lodges to protect the people. And it also, when you're hearing the crackling, if you put it into a sacred fire, that crackling, it gets the attention of the ancestors. So they're able to say, oh, somebody's calling us. Maybe we should go and pay attention. So when you hear that, when you put it in, it's the ancestors acknowledging that they're hearing that you've come to pray or whatnot. It's also used in fasting and sweat lodge ceremonies as a form of protection. The cedar branches, like I said, will cover the floor and whatnot, or in your area space of when you fast. And there's also, like I said, a circle of cedar put around the lodge. So yeah, when I was talking about it being toxic, it's not toxic when it's applied on the body. It's only when you ingest it while drinking it. So just keep that in mind. And the reason why it is toxic is, I think it's called therbamine or something like that. I'm just trying to look up again. I just had it. Anyways, it's something like therbamine or something. Thurjone, which is toxic to the human body in large doses. It's also, cedar's also a good bug repellent, and it's excellent for removing warts. And it's also good for muscle aches, as well as pains. Yeah, so when you would put it on your body, you would make it like you would take it in a more like a mortar thing, that cement thing that like kind of makes it things into like a powdery substance. And you can mix that with either bear grease or any type of carrier oil, such as olive oil or coconut oil or shea butter or something like that. I have some here. This isn't cedar oil. I believe this is for the 4 sacred medicines all mixed together. And what I do is I dry out the medicines as much as possible, or I put 2 tablespoons of pure alcohol and let it sit for 24 hours, and it dries into the medicines. The reason why we use the pure alcohol is so that it prevents the medicine from molding, as well as it has a longer shelf life. And so when I do my medicines, I put the medicine, whatever medicine that I'm using, I'll fill it right up, you know, to as much as I can, and then I'll fill it up the rest with the oil, and then I'll leave it for a full moon cycle. I like to start my medicines on a new moon, and I just write on the date on the top and whatnot. And then once the full moon, the moon cycle is done, then your medicine is done, and you can drain it with a cheesecloth and put it back into another case, and then you have some medicine for quite some time. The barks are also good as well. It's also used for when we make our canoes. And it's also the bark should be peeled off. When you're peeling the bark, should be peeled from the length of the tree, not across. It's just a little bit easier to get done, and not to take too much from the tree, because obviously we don't want to injure the tree to the point where you know, it's not healthy anymore for other folks. They're also used to make cedar baskets. Another use for them is with our canoes. We make canoes out of the cedar wood. And yeah, I think that's what I'll talk about for cedar for now. And if I think about something, I'll go back to it as well. And then the next one that we have, I just wanted to say again, thank you to Andova and Task for allowing me to provide you some sacred medicine teachings today. You know, with the COVID-19 happening, many of us knowledge keepers and artists and elders are really hurting in finding work. So thank you to Andova and Task for allowing me to provide messages to you, and also help me in my journey while I'm dealing with COVID-19 as well. So the third medicine that we have is sage. Sage is sacred medicine. Oh, also for cedar, you can put it on your doorways, and it's to or in the bottoms of your shoe, and that allows for you to walk in a good way, and as also protection for only goodness to come into your home, that the negativity is left at the door. So excuse me, with sage, we typically use it for smudging. Some people use it for tea as well. But when you smudge, you just light it with a lighter. I could probably grab, oh, it's too far away. You can just grab usually a abercrombie shell, one of those shells, and you put a good amount in the middle, and you light it typically with a match. But if not, Creator's not going to be upset if you use a lighter. I know some elders are adamant about us not using lighters, but we use what we have in this day and age. So you would just light it, and with the smoke, you would take off your jewelry and your glasses, and you would just wave the smoke over your head for good thoughts, your eyes to see good things, your mouth to speak good things, as well as cleanse your ears so you hear good things. You would cleanse your hair to keep your spirituality good, and then you would wash your body of any negativity, and then you would brush the smoke down towards your feet to walk in a good way. Some folks will actually take the medicine all around them, and then you can also get a really good smudge from an elder with a goose fan or an eagle fan, and they will do like a full body smudge. Also with the smudging, you can also smudge your home. Typically, I like to do this on a new moon for 4 days every month to cleanse the energy in my space, especially being a pipe carrier, and also reading tarot cards, and I just have a lot of spirits coming in and out of my space. So I start from the east, like where my door is, and then I go all around my house. I start from the bottom, and then I work my way up. I keep my windows closed until I'm done the whole smudging of my place, and then I'll open up all the windows and allow the smoke to come out. If it's winter time, I may just open my apartment door and ask anything that's not of the higher good or my ancestors to leave my space. What else with sage can I talk about? It's used in a tea. I don't typically drink it myself. I think it has a little bit of a bitter taste, but you can also drink it as a tea as well. There's also it's a really strong scent. I've heard folks saying that they're allergic to sage. That I can't say that. I'm asthmatic, and I don't have any issues with breathing. But it's a good way if breathing is an issue for you. Doing the oil and mixing it with water in a spray bottle, you can do the same effect going around your house, spraying, instead of having the smoke within your house. And then lastly, we have sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is a medicine that's represents kindness and love, and there's you know, a specific way that the braids are made. Each braid has exactly 21 strands, and it's supposed to represent the mind, body, and spirit. It's also shows us, you know, that when we're only one strand of grass, we aren't as strong as is if we are a community. Also, it was considered to be used as a perfume a long time ago. And it also has a calming effect for people that are upset in healing spaces. You may see an elder come and smudge the person if they're having a rough time during a sharing circle. It's also considered the sacred hair of Mother Earth, and it's got a sweeter aroma scent as opposed to sage. Sage is a little bit more of a stronger scent, and it's also used for smudging and purification. Also with sweetgrass, they're also used to make baskets as well. And there's a nice quote by Mary Ritchie, and sweetgrass is the hair of our Mother Earth. Separately, each strand is not strong as the strands when they are bound together. And it's always best to dry sweetgrass first. You'll get a stronger aroma from it, as well as you know, you can make the oil as well. It usually grows in a mixture of grasses, so it's sometimes harder to find. You have to get right down onto the ground to look at the bottom where the roots are, and you'll see like a purplish, and that will signify that it's sweetgrass. And it's also the women used to wear it as perfume when they wanted to attract someone, you know, and it's also fanned on people. They smudge themselves just the same way that they would with cedar. Some territories actually mix it with tobacco to when they're doing their pipe ceremony. Oh, Miigwetch, thunder. And it's also used as a tea for coughs, sore throats, chafing, and venereal infections. It was also used by women when they were on their moon time as well. It also was used during birthing ceremonies to stop women from bleeding, as well as to help them expel the afterbirth. Yeah, so I said also that it's used for basket. Does folks have any questions? I guess I could talk a little bit about, oh, I have birch bark over here. Birch bark I really like as well. Birch bark isn't one of the 4 sacred medicines, but it's very useful to the Anishinaabe people. We used to make, this is just a smaller piece. I was going to make some earrings out of it. But it's also used to make pots. We could actually cook on the stove or the open fire with, not the stove, but the open fire. I believe that they put something on it so that it wouldn't burn. But it was used to make baskets, also to make canoes and whatnot. It's also used for jewelry. I see a lot of folks making earrings out of birch bark now. But also there's something that I like to do with birch bark as well is I like to cut little squares with it, and put them in each of my windowsills or and door entries, and they don't have to be very big at all. They don't have to be seen or anything, and it's a way of providing yourself with protection in your home from spirits and whatnot, and just to, you know, yeah, really just to keep bad energy out of the space. So you just put it like anywhere on your windowsill, and just leave it there. And like I said, they don't have to be big at all. Yeah, so yeah, and I also do crystal. I think that, you know, traditional tobacco, I really don't like the idea of folks putting cigarette tobacco on the ground, because there really is a lot of chemicals in that, even though I do smoke myself. But just in terms of using it ceremonially, try to at least even take the tobacco out of the cigarette if you're offering it to an elder, or putting it to the ground, or putting it in the sacred fire. But I forgot where I was going with that. I can't remember. Yeah, but yeah, so make your tobacco ties. Also, there was something else that I wanted to say, but I honestly forgot. Does anybody have any questions out there? So, okay, so we can talk about each direction that the medicines sit in. So, the tobacco sits in the eastern doorway. The eastern doorway is for, you know, birth and rebirth. It represents the element of fire. It also talks about the yellow-skinned person. It's the sun, the dawn, also growth, new beginnings, and it's also the springtime. And then what sits in the southern direction is the cedar, and this is about summer. It's also the physical aspect of ourselves, also the red-skinned people, so like the Anishinaabe. We're also the caretakers of Mother Earth, and it's also for the emotional, wait. It's for the physical aspects of our well-being, and the youth and adolescents sit in this direction. And then in the west, we have sage that sits in the western doorway, and that represents our mental well-being. It's also the time of autumn, and they're the caretakers of water. And also, it represents the adults in the cycle of the medicine wheel. And then in the north sits the sweetgrass, and it's the air, and it's the spiritual health. It's the elders and the grandparents that sit in the northern doorway. And the element is winter. And also, when we're looking at the medicine wheel, we also don't look at it in 4 aspect sense. We also look at it as a 7 directions, being the 4 directions, and ourselves sitting in the center, with our heart and our mind being here, or like our spirit and ancestors. So does anybody have any questions, comments? Yeah, I just want to thank Andova again for allowing us to share these teachings and whatnot, and providing you folks with some medicine, the 4 sacred medicine teachings. Is there anything that folks out there have to add that they would like to share on this live feed about sacred medicines, or what they know about the medicine wheel? And also, our clans also are tied into the medicine wheel as well. The 7 grandfather teachings being wisdom, love, truth, respect, bravery, humility, and honesty. So keeping in mind, and these numbers are very significant and purposeful. 4 is a big number in Anishinaabe culture, as well as 7. 13 is another one for the 13 grandmother moons. So yes, I guess with that being said, I want to thank once again Andova and Task for allowing me to provide you folks with the sacred medicine, 4 sacred medicine teaching, as well as some medicine wheel teachings as well. If you're interested in having more teachings, or watching some of my tarot card readings, I have a YouTube channel that I just started. It's Red Road Kwe on YouTube, and then I have a Facebook group, not a group, page, the Red Road Kwe, as well as Instagram. Want to thank you folks so much for taking the time and patience to sit with me while I provided folks with the sacred medicine teachings. And yeah, so if you check out those other links, in the near future I'll have more content on the YouTube channel, specifically yeah, so I really enjoyed providing folks with these teachings. Oh, we have a comment. Thank you for the teaching. I'm wondering where I can get tobacco to start. I actually have some tobacco seeds, Sandra. So give me a call and I can give you some, or message me on Facebook. Yeah, I have a bunch of tobacco seeds. So folks, message me if you're in Toronto. Maybe we can meet up. If not, if it's not too expensive to send them out to folks, get in touch with me and I'll be able to provide some seeds for folks. Oh, maybe one last thing I'll share with folks before I go. I've actually started using another medicine that's not you're welcome, Sandra. That's not our traditional medicines, but I found a newfound love for frankincense. I absolutely love frankincense, and it has many of the ailments that sage would. And it's actually edible. The dark one is not edible, but the lighter one, the green one, or the ones that are not translucent, but you can't see through them, they're edible. But they do the same thing as sagewood. You can make tea out of them. They're an antiviral, antibacterial, so they clean out the air just the same as what sage would do. So with that being said, thank you folks so much for sitting in and listening to me ramble on here. Once again, thank you, Andova and Task, for allowing me to provide you folks with this live feed. And with that, I'll say Miigwetch and Bamapi.